Before we go over the 5 different styles of discussion board, I did want to show you a nice little feature in Moodle. If there are new posts that have occurred since your last login to Moodle, they'll show up here underneath the course title. You can see here we have new forum posts. I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon, and it will expand and show me which discussion boards have posts that I have not read. Now this will happen if I have forum tracking turned on. Now let's go ahead and get into the course. I've created 5 discussion boards, all with the exact same question and with the exact same responses by students, just so you can see the difference between the various styles that we have. Let's start with the single simple discussion. The single simple discussion is set up to streamline the discussion posts, meaning they're only replying to your post. They're not necessarily replying to everybody else initially. So we can see here we've got the single simple discussion, that's the title of my post, and then all the students have replied to it, and you can see the title of the posts are the same because they're replying to mine. These posts here that are furthest out to the left, these are initial postings of students, meaning they hit reply directly to this question right here. Everything that's indented from there, for example, this post by student 5 and this post by student 2, are all replies to the post directly above it. For example, student 2 has replied to student 5, who's replying to student 1, who's replied to me. I can also change my display from threaded form to nested form, and that will actually expand all of the posts for me. Now, I prefer the threaded form because it helps me see visually how many posts students have made and the flow of the postings. So this is a single simple discussion. It's meant to just be a single discussion. Let's move on to the one post discussion. Here you can see this looks a little bit different. The way that this works is a student only has one opportunity to make an initial post. Now they can reply back as many times as they want, but the initial post they only get to make once, so they can't start another topic later on in the week. After a student makes a post, this Add a New Discussion Topic button will disappear, so they can't post anymore except to reply to other students. And here you can see we've got student 1, student 3, student 4, student 2. They've all posted their initial postings, and then the replies column will list out how many replies are in under each discussion. And because I have unread tracking turned on, I can see how many replies are left unread in each of the discussion posts. Now if I wanted to go in there and actually read the posts, I would click on the student's title. This is the student's reply to my initial question, and I can see below, this is the reply to this student. To read the reply to this post, I simply click on the title of the post. And then to get back, I can click on the title of the forum. You can see that my unread has gone from 2 now to 0 because I've read all of the replies that are in this discussion thread. Let's move on to Q&A. Now the Q&A style is very different from any other style of discussion board. With the Q&A, I, as the instructor, pose the question and students have to reply back. Now the trick is they won't see anyone else's replies until 30 minutes after their initial post. So what that means is they have to come up with an original post before they can reply to any other students. So there's none of this, the first 3 students actually explain everything in your discussion question, and then all the other students that replied just seem to recycle their answers. With the Q&A, every student has to come up with an original thought on their own. The tricky part is students can only reply to my question. They have to be able to click that title to get into the question and then make their initial posts. So this Add a New Question button only appears to me. Students can't add a new question. That's my job. If you choose to use the Q&A forum, make sure you add a question so students aren't left trying to figure out how to reply to your post. Now let's move on to blog-like format. Here again we see a totally different layout. Now, as you know, I like my replies to be listed in a threaded view. This will list them in a nested view, and I can't change that. This is the idea of a blog-like format. Now, a lot of students like this. This is kind of the way that they operate. This is how Facebook works, how a lot of other websites use discussion boards. This allows the students direct access to every student's initial posting. It just displays it there, and they can quickly, at a glance, read over what the post says. And if they choose to engage in the post with the other student, or to make a reply to the student, they would simply hit discuss this topic, and then they would reply to that student. And they can post. Alright, so the blog-like format, it's really nice for students. It allows them to see everything at a glance. However, it can get a little bit messier for you. Now finally, let's move on to the general use. Now the general use looks very similar to the one post that we had earlier. It works about the same. However, the difference is students can start as many discussions as they want. Student 2 didn't have to stop with this initial discussion. He could have posted 2 or 3 or 4 other discussion posts. So this is a way to encourage a little bit more interaction. It's also pretty general. That's why they call it the general use format. Well, that concludes our brief tutorial on how to use discussion boards effectively and the different settings and the styles of each discussion forum. Go ahead and play around with some of the settings in there to find which one works best for you. Thanks for watching, and happy Moodling!